Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Therapy Talk, where we talk about all things mental health. As always, if you're new to my channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button first, and also please make sure to hit the bell button so you know when there's a new video up on my YouTube channel. And also, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, a big like, alright? So today's video is part of my series called Faces of Mental Health. So my primary goal, the primary goal of this series is to destigmatize mental health. And I want to do that by featuring and talking to individuals who have a history of mental health or maybe is struggling with a mental health illness right now, or maybe even family members or friends who've been affected by someone's mental health. So in today's episode, I'm very excited and I'm very honored to be talking to Drea. Drea and I met through a group called Yes Theory. So Yes Theory is a YouTube channel that was started by some guys in California. And the goal of the group is to seek discomfort. So that means, doing activities that is out of our comfort zone, maybe meeting someone new from across the world or trying a daring activity, or just trying something new. So that's the goal. They have a Facebook group, and that's where I met Drea. So I'm very excited to talk to her today about her mental health journey. So here is my interview with Drea. All right, and here we are. We are joined by Drea, who is coming to us from Las Vegas. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, how's your Monday so far?
Pretty easy so far. Easy day.
Easy day. Well, happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I know you and I spoke, a couple of weeks ago. So I know a little bit about you. So why don't you share to our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Like you said, my name's Drea. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. I'm 28 years old. And I was looking at your other videos you've done previously, and mental health is just a subject that I'm really passionate about. And I really loved your concept of showing the faces of mental health.
No, thank you for that. So tell me more about, you said mental health is it's an important issue for you. Why is that?
So when I was younger, I definitely battled a lot with my mental health. And one thing I think made it so much more of a struggle for me is I was not familiar with anything at all that had to do with mental health. I had no information about it. I was struggling a lot with depression, but I didn't even know that's what was going on because I had never even heard anything about it.
Okay.
It wasn't something that was really talked about a lot, whether it be with family or at school or even anywhere in any kind of media. It was just something that I never heard anything about.
Yeah. At what age do you think it all started for you when you started feeling, depressed? Or, back then, you said you
Mhm.
didn't really have the words or the information about it. So, at
Mhm.
what age do you think that started for you?
I think it kind of started probably around 15 or 16.
Okay.
And then when I was 17, almost turning 18, is when it hit a really low point.
All right. Well, was there anything happening when you were 15 that could have contributed or triggered, feelings of depression for you back then?
Yeah, there definitely was a lot of family and personal issues. I think the one thing that kind of struck me the hardest was when my grandmother passed away.
Okay.
And she was a really big and really important part of our family. And she passed away from cancer. So
Oh,
we
sorry to hear
did know, just thank you. So we did know that it was coming.
that.
I think the thing that made it worse for me and for my family is she went back home to the Philippines when the doctor had kind of told her how much time she might have left. Her and my grandfather wanted to live back home for like her last few months. And it was early October, I believe, that they left for the Philippines. And we had all planned to go visit them in February, but she actually ended up passing away a few weeks later.
Oh, okay.
And so that kind of hit everyone really hard. And it was just a really big shock, but also kind of everyone was in a rush to figure things out and to like book all the last minute flights and to get over there. And of course, being so last minute, I have a younger brother, and
Mm,
him and I were not able to go there and to attend the funeral and do
mm,
anything like that because my mother didn't want to pull us out of school because she wasn't sure how long she would be away. And I think just like the shock of all that really took a toll on me.
yeah.
And there was a lot of other family issues with my father and things like that,
Hmm.
and with our home being foreclosed, and everything was just kind of happening all at once.
Yeah.
And also being at such a young age, I didn't know how to handle all of that.
I mean, for anyone, even as adults,
Mhm.
experiencing all those changes, you know,
Yeah.
heartbreaks, tragedies, all that is already hard. And what more for a younger person,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know?
It was.
And yeah, I mean, I can imagine how difficult that was for you to be dealing with all those changes so quickly.
Mhm.
Um, how what was your grandmother's name?
Milagros.
Milagros. No,
But we
okay.
call everyone called her Mila.
Mila.
Mhm.
That's a beautiful name. What was your relationship like with your grandmother?
Well, for anyone who isn't familiar, like in a Filipino culture, it is common to live with generations of family under one household.
Yep, that's
So I did live with my grandparents from the time I was born up until when she passed away. So they were always around. I was always very close with them, lived with them my whole life.
yeah. Now you mentioned that at 17 or 18, that's when it really, I forgot the word that you used, but it's really it really hit you at that
That's
time.
kind of like, I think I would say I hit kind of the lowest point of the depression because
Hmm.
everything was kind of coming down. And I think those really big traumatic things happening
Hmm.
made even smaller things seem more traumatic because it was just so much at once.
Yeah. From what you can remember, how did the depression manifest itself? Like, what were you experiencing? What were you feeling? And or the kinds of, what was your behavior like, during that time?
I remember one of the first like noticeable things was my appetite.
Okay.
I was almost never eating. I would maybe eat once a day. I just never felt hungry. And then my energy started to deplete. I never wanted to do anything. Things that I had interest in before, I had completely lost interest in. I had no energy to do anything really. So even things like school were just seemed like the biggest hurdle. And on days when I didn't have school or anything to do, I couldn't even get out of bed. That was the last thing I wanted to do. I would just curl up in bed and stay there for hours. And I was sleeping a lot more than usual also.
Yeah. So this was around what, senior year high school,
It was my junior year.
junior year?
I would have been going into my senior year, yeah.
Okay. So how did it affect, let's say, your grades or your performance in school, your friendships, your family? How did that affect you?
I know that I was doing very poorly in school. I
Hmm.
was even skipping school a lot just because, like I said, I had no energy and I had no drive to even want to do anything.
Yeah.
And I even ended up after my junior year taking my senior year of high school online. I ended up looking into that just because it seemed like such a burden to me at the time to try and get up and go to school every day. So I just started doing my last year of high school online.
Yeah. And how was that experience for you to do online schooling or education for your last year of high school?
Well, for me at that time, I was under the impression it would be easier,
Hmm.
but it was a little bit harder, especially being in that mindset, but then also not really feeling like a push to do things because I kind of had to just be responsible for myself when
Hmm.
it was all online.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way you described it, lack of appetite, lack of motivation, it's affected your sleep, it affected your drive, those
Mhm.
are, classic symptoms of depression, but back at that age, do you remember like, oh yeah, this is what depression is? Like, did you have that kind of awareness or do you have the words? If not, like, how did you navigate through that time?
I definitely had no idea whatsoever. Like, I had no idea what any symptoms were. Like I said, mental health was just not something I was familiar with at all.
Mhm.
And I remember getting migraines a lot also, and my mother like taking me to the doctor, and they just couldn't figure out what it might be that I was dealing with.
Mhm.
So they were like wanting me to get CAT scans and things, and nothing was ever wrong. And I think that also started to worry my mother too, because I was always complaining of, pains and no energy, and there was just never any explanation to what it might be.
Mhm.
And I think I just kept searching for something to be wrong so that I could have an answer to why I was feeling the way that I was feeling.
Yeah, it was very challenging. You didn't really know what it was, so you didn't really have, the understanding or the awareness or the language or the words for it.
Yeah.
And that's tough, when when we cannot explain what's happening. It adds to our anxiety. It can even add to our depression because we don't know, something's wrong, but we don't know what it is. We don't have the necessary answers. And I'm sure it definitely had an impact on your family as well. Like you said, they were very concerned. Did you had to go to, I'm sure you had to go to like medical doctors, but was there any kind of conversation about, let's go to a school counselor or a therapist back then?
So there wasn't really any kind of conversation about that. Um, and I know I just kind of want to give a trigger warning for anyone that might be watching this,
Okay.
for any talks of suicide. But when I was around that age, about 17, almost 18, like
Hmm.
I said, is when it hit the bottom.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I had no answers for what to do anymore.
Hmm.
And then that was when I did attempt suicide when I was that age. And it wasn't until that happened that it was suggested of therapists or psychiatrists or things like that. So before that time, I didn't even have that suggestion at all.
Hmm. So when you attempted that, it was suggested to you or
Mhm.
recommended that you go to a mental health provider?
Yes.
Okay, was that a like a therapist or a psychiatrist, or do you remember?
So at first, I did see both.
Okay.
I was in a mental health facility for a while after that happened,
Okay.
and I was put on medication, and I also was seeing both. We were doing group therapy in
Okay.
the facility I was in, as well as individual therapy.
Hmm.
And the staff at the facility I was in was very helpful. I found it all to be very helpful while I was there.
Hmm.
However, when I was released and given suggestions of therapists and psychiatrists to see, I didn't feel any kind of connection with the people I was seeing, and it just didn't feel helpful to me. So I did stop seeing those particular ones.
Okay. Right.
But also at that young age,
Mhm.
again, being so unfamiliar, I didn't even think it was an option to try and look for anyone else or to get a feel for other people before just deciding not to go anymore.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, and if you're comfortable, because I think it's important for a lot of people who's gonna be watching and listening to this video about suicide. And I just did a video on suicide prevention last week because September is National Suicide Prevention Month.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
if you're comfortable, like, what was the method that you chose back then?
For me, it was an overdose attempt.
Okay. Was it?
Like I mentioned, I was going to doctors for my migraines and things and pains.
Mhm.
And one of the things they wanted me to try were sleeping pills because they
Okay.
thought maybe it was my sleep that was affecting me.
Mhm.
And so I had a new prescription of sleeping pills, and that was what I used.
Okay. So what happened that didn't, what stopped it, for you to following through with it? Like what happened?
Um, Actually, I feel like it might have just been luck because I did take them.
Okay.
And it was the next morning, I think I wouldn't wake up. And then when I did wake up, I think my mother was trying to get me up ready for work.
Mm.
And I ended up fainting in the bathroom when I was trying to get up and get ready. And then that's when my mother and my brother had called the ambulance.
Okay. Do you remember what it was like for them? I can just imagine for them to see, you know, a loved one go through that. Do you remember what it was like for them during that time?
I know it was a very traumatic experience for them, seeing that happen and going through all that.
And I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago that mental health doesn't only affect the particular individual, but also their
Mhm.
family members, their friends, their loved ones. So it's always important to acknowledge that as well.
Mhm.
And sometimes the help and support is not only for the particular individual, but also for people that really care about them, who may not necessarily know how to deal with someone with mental health issues, how to support them, how to best help them, and things like that. So,
Yeah, I think it's important to, when they don't recognize the signs, or if they do, so I think it's not only important for this information to get out for people who are dealing with this thing, but even people who aren't, because
for
there
sure.
might be people around them struggling with it and they don't even notice.
Yeah, that is very true. So my hope, with our conversation and my previous conversations and future conversations with people is
Mhm.
that it's not only about you being able to share your experience, but also people to learn from your experiences, people they can relate, I'm sure, to your experiences, and also learn from your experiences, including like what for maybe family members who will be listening or and viewing this video, they'd be like, these are the signs that we can look out for based on Drea's experiences or some other people's
Mhm.
experiences. So
Yeah.
okay, so you were inpatient for a period of time, then you got out, and then you had services. You were seeing a therapist, psychiatrist, and at some point you decided not to come back, right?
hmm For
So,
me, it seemed like those methods weren't working. And I think, again, it could have just been the people I was working with, because I always hear people speaking about their experience with therapy, and it always seems like a very positive experience.
mhm,
It's just unfortunately for me at that time, I didn't have the most positive experience, but that's not to say that others wouldn't.
mhm,
And then as far as the medication, I did not like the way it made me feel.
yeah.
So I decided to stop taking that for myself also.
Yeah, and it's very valid. A lot of
Mhm.
in my practice, seeing clients who've been on medications, they've told me that yeah, in the beginning it probably didn't work, and some people really have a very strong opinion about medications in general, and
Mhm.
it's very valid. We're talking about side effects, we're talking about how it's going to affect moving forward. So I understand, why I understand, that experience that you had back then. So did you ever go back to therapy? Did you ever go back on medications after that?
Me personally, I haven't. Therapy is something I have thought about, just because I do think it's something people could benefit from.
Hmm.
I haven't tried going back yet, but it is something I'm open to and considering.
Okay.
But for me personally, I think there's alternative methods that I have turned to that have helped me a lot.
Like what?
For me, meditation and mindfulness and awareness has definitely been the biggest change in my life.
Okay.
I wasn't very familiar with it. I can't remember what it was that sparked the interest,
Hmm.
but once I started trying it and realizing that being aware of anything in your body, whether it be physically, mentally, having that awareness when those feelings come up really makes the biggest difference for me.
Do you have any specific like routine or type of meditation or any other mindful activities that you do that's been helpful for you?
Yes. I always loved writing, so
Yeah.
journaling was a big thing. There's something about kind of just getting all your thoughts and feelings out, whether it be speaking to someone or journaling like I was doing, it's a really good outlet.
So we have meditation, mindfulness. What other things have been most helpful to you in the last few years?
I think, well, for me, having a creative outlet is
Okay,
definitely something that helps a lot.
yeah. But what kind of creative, aside from the writing, and like what, painting or drawing, or what kind of creative do you do that's been helpful for you?
Yeah, I like sketching and painting, but I think music is definitely the biggest one for me.
Oh, music. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it
It,
writing, performing, singing? Like what?
I usually sing a lot for myself, but I also do YouTube videos. But then, even just having something to focus on when you're practicing a song, dabble in the piano and guitar and ukulele,
Okay.
and sitting and practicing really kind of just hones you in on that one thing that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really think about anything else.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
your mind is focused on something.
Yeah,
So it definitely can be helpful. And music has such power, right?
yeah, it really does.
It stirs
Mhm.
the emotions, our feelings. It makes us think. So it can, and it definitely has the ability to make us reflect, make us think about our life. It can make us think about many things that can be very helpful in managing our mental health, specifically managing maybe depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms. So and we're gonna put this on the link below. But what is your YouTube channel?
It's youtube.com/drezmay.
Great. How do you spell that?
It's DREZMAY.
All right. So for everyone, make sure you subscribe to Drea's YouTube channel. So let's talk about your family. I know, when you were sent to the hospital because of your suicide attempt, that really affected them. How have they been since then? How is your relationship with them, and also their understanding of mental health?
Um, I mean, I feel like it's something that it's not talked about very often, but at the same time, it's not shied away from.
Okay.
So I do think they are a little bit more open and understanding of it after that. It
Mhm.
was a little bit difficult coming back home after that. It just kind of, I think for me, I felt a certain amount of shame around it, not really knowing how people would react. But it definitely brought us closer and gave us closer relationships. And I do think it's something that they also didn't really think about or have on their minds until it
Mhm.
happened.
When you say shame, what do you mean by that?
I think I was just embarrassed about it, not really knowing how people would react. And even talking about it up until recently was something that I still felt a lot of shame and embarrassment about.
Hmm.
And coming to realize now that if me talking about my experience could possibly help somebody else with theirs, or even just help people realize that these are things that anybody could go through,
Hmm.
that's kind of helped me to open up and speak about my experience.
Hmm. How would you describe your life now, in terms of your mental health? How are you doing? How are you feeling? And how are you managing?
I would say my life has been a complete turnaround since then. Honestly, people who meet me now and see the way I live and the way I am would never guess that that was something that I had ever dealt with.
Hmm.
I definitely feel like I'm more aware of those things now, so I can cope with them if those feelings were to ever return. But kind of keeping a little bit of a preemptive kind of look on it, and just taking care of my mental health even times like now when I am really happy with everything in my life.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you could just think everything's okay and just be done with it.
Yes.
So constantly taking care of myself definitely is something that I prioritize. And then, like I said, with the music and things, like doing things like that bring me joy. So even if I'm just doing it by myself, those things make me happy. And I have definitely made sure to surround myself with things that make me happy, whether it be the people that I'm around or the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think that really makes a difference. Really surrounding yourself with the good things, the positive things, the things that you
Yeah.
like to do, the people that you want to be around with. Having positive influences and impact from people, either friendships or family, and then doing things that you love. I mean, those are really the things that sometimes have more of a positive impact
Mhm.
than medication.
Yes. Mhm.
And this is something that I always encourage everyone. And as a therapist, I'm very careful when it comes to medication. Well, I don't prescribe them anyway, but when I talk to clients about medication, it's really sort of like the last resort. I
Yeah.
really I really help clients in terms of developing these healthy positive coping skills that you like that the ones that you have,
Yeah.
because they are, for a lot of people, that's what really will make a difference. In
Mhm.
addition to having the right support system, family members, friends, even a therapist, and all that can really make a big positive impact
Yeah.
in terms of managing your mental health. And I think you know, you were right in saying taking care of ourselves is not only about our physical health, but also
Mhm.
our mental health. So I'm happy to hear that you're doing much better. You have all these healthy coping skills. I'm sure not every day is happy,
Exactly.
positive.
Yeah.
We all
Mhm.
we all have our tough days, but I'm happy to hear that you do have like a toolbox or an
Yeah.
arsenal of coping skills ready to be taken out of these toolboxes and to use to
Exactly.
help yourself get out.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly. You were saying not every day is going to be great. Not every day is going to be happy. And that's just for everybody throughout their life.
mhm,
But knowing that you have things to turn to when those feelings come up, like that's really what's important.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, Drea, do you have any message for anyone who will be seeing this video, who probably is going through their own journey in terms of their mental health? Maybe they're also depressed, or they're going through some tough times. What would you like to say to them?
To them, I'd like to say that you're not alone going through your struggle. If anything, you could see that there are people that you may not think are dealing with these things, could be, and just not speaking about it. And I want everyone to know that they shouldn't feel ashamed to speak up about it. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that stops a lot of people from seeking help,
Yeah,
that you should know that it's not something to feel ashamed about. If you feel like you just need someone to talk to, or you might need some help, then that's definitely something you should look for. And then also for people who have never dealt with these kind of things, just know that it could happen to anybody.
yeah,
And just to be there for the people around you, because you may never know what they're going through.
yeah. That is very true. Mental health doesn't know race, doesn't know body type, doesn't know ethnicities or color, or like you said, it can happen to anyone. So just to have that understanding that it's okay not to be okay, and it's
Yes.
okay to talk about these things. And I think you are a wonderful testament to that.
Thank
The courage that you have to share, because these are not easy things to talk about. Especially when you talk about suicide, when you talk about depression. All this is not very cannot can be not easy to talk about, or topics to talk about. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate, and I'm really honored to to hear you
Thank you.
share your experiences. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm sure our viewers are also very grateful for you to be this open to talking about your experiences. So thank you again.
It definitely is a little scary, I'll admit, because there probably are still people who don't know about this side of me at all. But again, like I was saying, to be able to show other people what coming out of the other side could look like
Mhm.
is really important to me. And to let people know that the things you're going through now might not always be what you're going to be going through, and things can change. And knowing that it might help someone, it really does make me want to speak about it. And it does make it a little easier to put this out there like that.
Yeah. All right. Drea, any final words that you wanted to share to everyone?
I think that's everything. Yeah. Just really just trying to help with this mission of breaking the stigma around mental health with, things like you're doing, and people like you trying to get this message out. It's just, I'm really honored to be a part of it. And I appreciate you asking me to do this.
Well, I'm honored to have you in this video. And again, a big thanks to you. I admire you for not only doing this, but also for the journey that you've had,
Thank
and the success that you've had in terms of managing your mental health. And like you said, not every day is perfect, but from where you were at 15 till now, I
you. Yeah.
think it's remarkable. So I'm very proud of you. I also want to say that
Thank
I'm
you.
very proud of you. And again, I'm very thankful that you agreed to do this, and set aside time in your set aside time to be able to do this and share your experiences to everyone. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, a big thanks to Drea for taking the time and sharing her mental health journey with all of us. I hope that all of you learned a lot from her. And please make sure to share this video to your friends, to your families. I'm sure a lot more people can learn from Drea's experiences. So again, Drea, thank you so much. All right. And before I go, I just want to make sure to let you all know that I'm gonna, on the description section, I'm gonna include links to Drea's YouTube channel and also her Instagram. So please check them out, and please subscribe, all right, to Drea's channel, and also follow her on Instagram. All right, and if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, comments for me, please make sure to put them down in the comment section. You can also email me at lloyd@blueharborpsychotherapy.com, or you can also check out our website, blueharborpsychotherapy.com. Alright, so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And as I always say at the end of all my videos, I want to wish all of you to have a happy mental health day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye!